Sigurlig swagweg, Galakin dinio get swagisli wagi ni wakitaloda, onidag, Ngwe wenege, ani, bonjour danse, um, Yanko, Yugodonos. For those of you who have joined early, Yanko for being here, Don, Scuba Duck. Uh, Today, this is a little bit different than some of the music that we normally listen to. This is a performance that's going to be done from Western University. It's a live stream, and it's kind of an operatic story. So, the first part of this story or this performance today is actually going to be based on what they call the five songs on the poems of Marilyn Dumont. And this was kind of put together by a composer named Ian Cousin, who's a Métis composer. And so the first, again, five sections of this will be the letter for Sir John A. Macdonald, uh, the Red and White, the Helen Betty Osborne, um, half human, half devil, in brackets, half breed, muse, in the devil's language. Um, this is really going to kind of incorporate some of the stories of what many indigenous people have gone through in the on the northern part of Turtle Island, specifically the Métis people, because the Métis people are um, kind of have the foot in two worlds, so to speak. You know, they many of them can come across as being uh, non-indigenous and fit into the greater society, while at the same time they have their indigenous aspect of their ancestry, which oftentimes got condemned, and they heard, you know, that part of their cultural background was evil or somehow less than human, and they should not practice their language and their traditions and ceremony, etc. So what Ian Couson tried to do is incorporate this into a musical performance, and with his writing. So the event is supposed to start at 12:30. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to share a little part of an interview uh, with the composer so that you can kind of get a grasp of where he was coming from. Now, this is just the first part of today's performance. There's a second part of the performance today that is called Ken. I'm no, I'm not saying it. Probably not saying it right. Cantaloupe Chante d'Auvergne, which is composed by Joseph Cantaloupe, and there's going to be a couple of little pieces in the middle of that. Nuit Pes Belle, which is night something. I don't speak French, so it's a little foreign to me. And then that'll be followed by Bal Nuit, and I know that Nuit is night. So the other part of it, I don't know. Um, but it'll be interesting just to hear how this comes across. So while we're waiting for 12:30 to roll around, I'm going to share a short interview with him. If the event happens to kick in before it starts, we may have to cut the interview short. But the interview is only about 13 minutes long, so I'm hoping that, as with most Indigenous events, they tend to not always start precisely on time. So we'll see how this goes. Anyway, so let me get my mug off the screen here, and I'll show you the short interview with the composer Ian Couson.
I'm joined by composer Ian Couson. Welcome, Ian.
Thanks so much for having me, Lawrence.
I know that you've won many prizes, and among your accolades, you've been the Carrefour Composer in Residence at the National Arts Centre. You've also been Composer in Residence at the Canadian Opera Company, and you wrote a new aria to be inserted into their production of Louis Riel. And looking through your catalog of works, I can see that you've written in all genres virtually, but you've been particularly drawn to the voice. Could you say a little bit about what has drawn you to write for the voice?
I think the voice is the most personal of the instruments. And I've always been drawn in particular to singers. I think they're fascinating creatures. Partly, I think the very personal element of the voice being part of the body. So, for example, a particular singer's sound isn't necessarily something that they can change by just picking up a different instrument, a different oboe, a different clarinet. It is completely a part of their physiology. So that fascinates me. I think maybe secretly I've always wanted to sing and have admired the confidence that a singer can have when they stand on a stage and produce this incredible sound with their body. So it's been a fascination with singers. I'd say the second piece to that is that the capacity for a singer to tell story through song, through operatic work, has also been something that I've really gravitated to, even from a very young age. There's a part of my growing up that was so informed by storytelling that it was a natural extension to then think about spending a lot of my professional life writing parts of those stories and helping to tell those tales musically.
So stories, text, are a very important part of your compositional life. Your 5 songs on poems of Marion Dumont, very powerful song cycle. Marion Dumont, of course, is a descendant of Gabriel Dumont, who was an ally of Louis Riel and took part in the Northwestern Rebellion in 1885. What about Marion Dumont's poems captivated you to the point where you wanted to do a song cycle around them?
These songs are all of the poetry is taken from a collection, her first collection of published poetry called A Really Good Brown Girl. And I first came across these, she wrote them in the mid-90s. I first came across the poems in 1999 when I was a student at the University of Toronto, and I was taking a Canadian literature class. And one of the people we read was Marion Dumont. And I think from that moment of just encountering these words that were speaking to a story that felt very deeply personal, and that felt deeply connected to my own family story and my own story, I immediately gravitated to the work. There's something about her writing that is so incredibly visceral. There's something very direct. There's something very lyrical and artful. And from that first moment of reading these poems 22 years ago, I realized, oh, these would make incredible songs. And so when I had the opportunity a few years back to collect a few of these poems and get permission to then create this song cycle, I jumped at the opportunity. Again, the text is powerful, it's direct, it's relevant, it speaks to a very particular experience of Métis people that is one that I don't think we hear enough in Canada and in the discourse that we have. So it's drawn.
We're having this conversation in the aftermath of the discovery of mass children's graves. And these poems, this song cycle, has such a range of emotion, from suffering and pain to hope and resilience. I wonder if you could speak a little bit about the songs that you've written, and perhaps say a little bit about what we might listen for in them.
The first poem in the collection is a letter to Sir John A. Macdonald, the first Prime Minister of Canada. And it's positioned as a Dear John letter. So it is exceedingly tongue-in-cheek, it's exceedingly sarcastic, and it's the voice of a Métis person reflecting back on the attempts of Canada to unite the country via a railroad. So the sound you'll hear is this kind of chugging train that moves throughout the piece. But it's also a very scathing criticism of much of Macdonald's policies and what, of course, led to the residential school system and a lot of the traumas that are experienced within our communities to this day. We move from that place to a really beautiful text called The Red and White. And in this poem, we hear a about a woman named Mary. And we never really told who Mary is, but we're told that Mary tried to say these things. And I always wondered, well, what things was she trying to say? In some ways, I imagine the words of that first poem are the ones that she tried to say, but the words never came out. And of course, the title of the poem and through some of the images in the poem, we're talking about the red and white. Of course, we would think of the flag, the Canadian flag, but of course, the red Indigenous experience and the white experience. Something that's really interesting to Marilyn Dumont's poetry is this experience of halfness. And of course, the derogatory old term for Métis people was half-breed people. And we move from that second poem to a poem about Helen Betty Osborne. And Helen Betty Osborne is sadly an iconic figure, not maybe for the reasons that she should be an iconic figure. She was a very ambitious young woman, wanted to become a teacher, but she was murdered at a very young age. And her story is one that is the story, as Marilyn Dumont positions it, of many Indigenous people and Indigenous women in particular, of
Thank you everyone for coming, and thank you for those of you at home who are joining us today. We will start in just a couple of moments, so please hold tight and we will begin when we are ready. Thank you.
You don't know how sweet I am. You don't know how sweet I am. I am what I am, and I am sweet. You don't know how sweet I am.
Yo, check.
Hello and welcome. Is this on? Yes. It is perfect, great. Wow, I'm so excited to see all of you here in the audience. I see a lot of regulars. Thank you for coming. I wanted to say a special welcome. So make some noise if you're from Young Voices Toronto. Yay. Great. Welcome to Western. And I think we also have Mississauga Children's Choir here in the audience. Where are you guys? Nice. Welcome to campus. We have a really special concert for you today. We have the wonderful Marion Newman here in recital. I had the good fortune of meeting her a few years ago when we sang the first set of songs together. And these songs were just really made a lasting impression on me. And so I've been wanting to share these here on campus with our audiences for quite some time. So I'm really thrilled that she's here. She's here between projects. She just finished up a vocal project with a dance company in Regina, and she's about to head off to Vancouver where she's premiering a new opera. So she's very busy, and we're very lucky to have her here today. We're also incredibly lucky to have composer Ian Kusan here with us to talk about his songs. And so I would like to welcome Ian Kusan to the stage.
It's so wonderful to look out and see all of you here. Welcome. The first set of songs that you're going to hear are called 5 Songs on Poems of Marion Dumont, and these I wrote back in 2017. What's interesting about this cycle is that it's a chance for me as a Métis composer to set texts by a Métis poet, Cree Métis poet Marion Dumont, and to have them sung by an Indigenous singer. And this is becoming more and more common now, but even a few years ago was pretty much unheard of. What's really special is the texts of these songs. I'm just going to walk you really briefly through the 5 poems. The first, you can imagine, or I hope you'll imagine, a train whistle in the first sound that you hear, and then the chugging of a train. And the whole poem is really a letter to Sir John A. Macdonald, but it's a special kind of letter. It's a breakup letter. Sort of like, I'm breaking up with you, you first Prime Minister of Canada, for your policies, but also for your construction of this rail line across Canada, which was to unite from sea to shining sea, which is one of the lines in the poem, but also actually was the cause of devastation of many Indigenous communities over which this railway was built. We follow this with a song called The Red and White, which is a song, I mean, if you think about red and white, you can think about the red and white flag, Canadian flag, but the red or Indigenous identity and the white identity, and specifically the Métis people being this hybrid group of people that have ancestry from both lines, this mixed identity, and one woman's struggle to keep her children acceptable for Canadian society. And we'll hear about this Mary figure. And then we move to the centerpiece, which is really a deep meditation on a woman named Helen Betty Osborne. And the poem itself is called Helen Betty Osborne, and it's really the singer Marion reflecting on, if I were to write you a poem, what would I be writing for you? And for those of you who don't know, Helen Betty came from northern Manitoba and moved to the Pas, Manitoba, which is still quite up in Manitoba. And she moved there because that was where she could go to high school. She had deep ambitions of being a teacher and giving back to her community. But on one fateful night, she was picked up when she was walking home from friends, going back to the place where she was staying, and was sadly murdered. And the tragedy about Helen Betty, she's become iconic in Canadian history, is because it took quite a long time for there to even be interest in investigating her death and murder, and for bringing justice to her and her family. So we'll hear a meditation on Helen Betty and who she represents for the singer. And then we hear a song about all these words and sounds, and you'll hear a lot of energy, the dripping faucets and breaking bone and all of this kind of thing. And then the final song in the collection is a reflection on language. What does it mean when the language of your mother or your father or your grandparents is something that you can't speak? And what does it mean when that language is labeled the devil's language, which is the title of the poem? And what does it mean when all you have are memories of syllables of that language that waft through your memory, but you are left without the ability to speak it? So I hope you enjoy reflecting and feeling through these poems. 5 songs on poems of Marion Dumont. And now I'll welcome the musicians to the stage. Thank you.
dripping faucet. So there is no leak, not a drop. My eyes want to push out through my skin. Arms and legs are propelled through numb air. Birds rise, this flame is giving numbness. No sound, no movement. Stop! A plank wound in a rope. Tight heart's blood until the piercing earth were steel. Exhaling rock dust, drilled in waiting, toppling bone, ripping ivy, anchoring down, rising, giving up. Lurching, laconic dance. Drum rattle, gangly movement of feet. On bitter hills they come, haste neck and shift body. Next feral contortion, animal skin taut, not made, ochre skin. Ash pebbles encased, trapped in sound. Pebbles rasp against thin, dry skin. A herd of rattles overtakes me. Is there a received pronunciation of Cree? Is there a modern Cree usage? The chief's Cree, not the king's English. As if violating God the Father and standard English is like talking backwards. As if speaking the devil's language is talking back. Backwards,
Sigulis fagwag, Galakin di niya gets, wagisli wagi ni wakitaloda, oni dog and Gwehuanege. So that was live at the Don Wright Faculty of Music at Western University, and uh, I think that really, when it comes to opera singers, they really are a step above when it comes to the vocal control that they have. It's amazing how they do it, and so impressive. It's also really nice to see some of our stories and history come across in this field of music. Because I don't know that it's really common. I think the only other um, operatic singer that I can think of might be Jeremy Ducher. Um, and I know that there is another composer. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. That does operatic music as well, with orchestrated music, I guess. Um, that tries to tell our stories and our history as well through music. So it is becoming more and more popular and common. So that's good to see. And so hopefully we'll see more performances like that. So um, that was kind of what we wanted to do today. So what I'm going to do, actually, thinking about these operatic versions of songs, I do have a song I can share with you before we go. That's kind of along the same vein. Um, if I can remember what I did with it. But a quick reminder, tomorrow morning I'm going to be part of my very first raid train. And it's going to be, it's organized by Asa Inspirator. And he's going to be kicking it off at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. And then he'll be doing the first 2 hours. And he's going to raid into my channel at 10. I will do 2 hours and we'll raid into the next stream. So if you are up early enough here in Turtle Island, I know that that's quite early to get up for music, but maybe some of you in the UK and other parts of the world might be the perfect time for you. But anyway, that'll be 8 a.m. my or 10 a.m. my time when I'll be live doing that my very first part of Raid Train. So I'm not sure what I'm thinking is I want to structure it slightly different than our normal music stream because it's going to be a radio Raid Train. So basically, it is going to be focused on the music. Is I want to set up some specific songs. So any of you regulars who are here, if you think that there are particular songs by Indigenous artists that we should certainly include in tomorrow's stream, just post it in the Discord now, because I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a set list of music specific. Specifically to be played during the raid train tomorrow, rather than doing our typical open requests, just so that if we get some new people to the channel, I want to ensure that they're getting access and viewing some of the music that we really want to kind of put out there as far as promotion and awareness of our indigenous artists. So what was I looking for? Oh, okay, so the other composer that I was thinking of, his name is Andrew Balfour. He's a Cree composer. So what he's actually done is he's created an orchestral arrangement or a choral arrangement of a song called "Run to the Hills," and some of the rockers in the hills. Um, yeah, here let me just. That should work. Let me know if it doesn't work for whatever reason. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this an orchestral version of Run to the Hills because it kind of fits with the theme of today's stream. when we play that, I'll be looking for someone that we can rate out to. So I hope that you all stick around for sharing the love. The other thing as well, what I'll post in Discord is the translations of the songs that you heard today, because many of them are written in French, and I don't, not everybody speaks French, so you may or may not have understood all of what was being sung. So I'll put the PDF file of the songs um, translated into English so that you can actually see. I'll put the program into the Discord, and if you're interested in knowing um, what was done today, it was a Métis composer who did all the arrangements for today, and the singer is an indigenous singer. The primary singer today was. But the actual composers for the music I listed. So the very first section that was done today was called Five Songs from Poems of Marilyn Dumont, and that was arranged by a composer named Ian Cousin. And then it was followed up by a composer named Hector Berlioz, and the song they did of his was called Nuit Pays Belle, and that was a duet with Beatrice Benedict. And then it was followed by a song called Belle Nuit, um, which was from Les Contes uh, de Hoffmann, and it was the composer was Jacques Offenbach who was from 1819 to 1880. And then the last section of songs was done by Joseph Canteloube, and it was the work was called Chants d'Anvers, or something to that effect. Again, my French is not very good, so those were the composers. Yeah, the actual composers themselves, the last three were not indigenous. The very first one, Ian Cousin, is Métis, and then the singer was indigenous. So just to clarify. Uh, but I will I'll put those translations into the Discord for the English translation, so people who are interested can know what those songs were actually about. Because there was a point of of the song selection today that from an indigenous perspective that made sense, and so I don't expect everyone to get that until they understand the names of the songs and the lyrics and the content. So I'm going to get my mug up to screen here. I'm going to play Andrew Balfour choral arrangement of Run to the Hills. And again, we'll look for someone to read out. I hope you all stick around to share in the love on someone else's stream. So while this is playing, I'll put in our raid calls. So grab a raid call, refresh your chat, and then and stay with us while we go over and find someone to share the love with. And again, this is Andrew Balfour, Run to the Hills.
Dun 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 dun. Do da do do da do do da do do da do da do.
One man came across the sea. He brought us pain and misery. He killed our tribes. He killed our creed. He took our game for his own need. We fought him hard. We fought him well. Out on the plains, we gave him hell. But then he came, too much for Cree. Or will we ever be set free? Riding through dust clouds and barren wastes, galloping hard on the plains, chasing the redskins back to their holes, fighting them at their own game. Murder and freedom have stabbed in the back. Women and children are cowards. Attack! to the hills. Run for your life. Run to the hills. Run for your lives. Run to the hills. Run for your life. Run to the ding 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 ding. Ah!
Okay, can you hear me now? Okay. Anyway, sorry about that. I was saying that another quick reminder, tomorrow, 10 a.m. will be the rate train. It'll be 2 hours if you want to jump on the train and join us. Hey, Deggy Fresh, Yanko for being here. Also, the we had an event scheduled next week for Murray Sinclair, Senator Murray Sinclair, to come do a chat with us, and that won't be happening. Apparently, it got canceled due to some unforeseen circumstances. Now, that's all I've been told. I don't know what that means, but I do really hope that I wish him all the best in health, because I know that he is not. He's not at his healthiest time at the moment, but hopefully that's not the reason for the cancellation. But in any case, keep an eye. We'll update the schedule as we can. I will again have the translation of that music today put into the Discord probably in the next half hour or so. Once we get into the next channel. So I again hope you will stick around for the to share in the love for our next streamer. I'm going to go over to. I know that I've rated this artist recently as well, but she really is a great talent and kind of an ally to the LGBTQIA community, and I think that you will all enjoy her a great deal. So I hope that you will stick around and come over and see Aaron from EBX. And in the meantime, Yanko, for everyone for being here, I appreciate and I'm grateful for all the time that you guys spend with me. And I will see you on the other side.
But live learns, though, there's a handful that I didn't actually like learn, so those will be a part of it. Oh my goodness, why is that so loud today? Good Lord. Hello, Dark Native. Welcome in. The Dark